Good morning. I hope that your weekend went well. I hope you were able to get some rest. We are back on another Monday, and I am grateful to be able to come to you at this time. My weekend was very, very wonderful. It really was. Spent some time with my mom, among other things, and I was given the opportunity to face myself. But now that's not the topic of what we're going to be discussing this morning. We're going to be looking at something else. We'll get back to that later, okay? Maybe I'll just add it on to the end after we have our full discussion. But now I have a question for you. What kind of person are you? And of course, Monday mornings we discuss all kinds of subjects, so this should be no surprise. But what kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person that cannot be taught, cannot be reasoned with? And I won't go any further than that because, as we mentioned, this is positive conversation. But the question still remains. Or are you a person that is teachable, ready to learn, ready to put forth the necessary energies to not only learn but master certain skills that's going to be very valuable to you in life? As I mentioned, that's important to think about. And I'll tell you why. I was able to offer some services to a young married couple, and I was so proud of them because they had purchased their first home, a modest dwelling in a good neighborhood, might I add. But there were some things that were lacking. And when I walked in to do the job that they'd asked me about, I could tell. And of course, I didn't say anything. But as the job went on, then they informed me of the things that they had been doing, the progress they had made, and I congratulated them. I told them that they were doing well. And now, to add another dimension to the story, I am looking at two young people that are old enough to be my children. Now, isn't that something? I've gotten to the age now where I can have adult children. Wow. That was a shock. But regardless of that, they were so happy. I could tell. Because they were making advancement in life. They were reaching the goals that they had set. And so, rightfully so, they should rejoice for the hard work that they had put forth. But now here is where the difficulties come in, okay? The husband, while I am going through the motions of installing a television for him, mounting it on the wall, he notices my toolbox and he says, "Man, listen, can you show me how to put up a curtain rod?" And that was kind of odd to me. And I'll tell you why that was odd to me, because my mother is a decorator. And from time to time, she moves this around. She puts this here and takes it from there and moves it to... And she's 70 years old and she's still doing the same thing when I come to her home. She still has things she wants me to move around. So I'm used to it by now. As far as interior decorating and things of that sort, she taught all her boys, and her daughter, of course, but she taught all of the boys what it is that we need to do. And so I told him, I said, "Well, listen, I don't think that'll be a problem. You know, I think I can help you with that." And so after the TV was mounted, I showed him how. We measured from the ceiling to the point where he wanted the rod to be. We made 3 measurements, marked it off because he had a longer rod, and the rod required that there be 3 anchors on it. And so we put up the rod, and as I was making the markings, drilling the holes, he was paying rapt attention because he really wanted to learn. And I understand why, because there were quite a few windows that his wife wanted to be covered. And as I look over into the corner in the kitchen, she has purchased a rod as well as some curtains for each and every window. So he has his work cut out for him. So as I'm going through the process, he's very attentive. He's asking questions. And we were able to successfully put the curtain rod up. And when we put the curtains on the rod, and then we were finally finished. He called his wife, and she came in, and she was so happy. She was so happy. She said, now that's how it should look. She said, now we can put the living room the way we want it. We could entertain guests and things of that sort. So it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience. But now going back just a little bit, before we were able to put up the curtain rods, to show you that this was important to her, she stapled the curtain rods up. Not the rod, but the curtain itself. She stapled it up. And when I saw that, I understood automatically what they were trying to do. You do the best you can with what you have. You do. And I guess the point of the discussion this morning is when someone takes the initiative, because I know it takes quite a bit of courage. It takes quite a bit of courage to admit that in this situation you have no idea how to proceed. But I think it takes courage also to see someone that you think might be able to help and assist you, and then you go over and humbly ask for their assistance. All that takes courage. All of it does. And so you see, that's one of the reasons why I was so proud of the both of them, the husband in particular, because I'm standing in his home that he's paying for. And he had the humility to say, Mr. Marcus, this is something that I don't know about. And I would appreciate it if you would help me with it. And so I took the initiative to tell him what tools he needed to have, how to go about setting up so that the curtain rod would be level, the whole nine. And I know that's a small thing. I know it is. But it highlights a bigger point. It highlights the point that as individuals, especially older individuals, we complain about the way that the younger generation does things. We complain about how it is that they don't seem to be as focused as we were. We complain about several things when it comes to them. So if you're going to complain, when there's an instance where you can offer assistance and help, guidance, are you offering it? Are you putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak? If you want things to change, are you putting forth positive action and effort so that they will change? Now, I will say this. When we were done, this young man and his wife, they thanked me. I hadn't done much, but they thanked me because I took the time to help them to understand something or to know how to do something that they didn't know. Just think about how much better life would be for that young couple who is bound to make some mistakes because they're new to all of this. That young husband and wife, think about how their life would be in general if there were more people around them willing to help them, to show them which way to go so they wouldn't make the mistakes that they made. It would be a wonderful thing. And then it would engender a spirit of cooperation. And so whatever it is that this young man was taught to do, then he could take what he's taught and pass it on. Maybe he'll run into a younger couple and have to help them with the things that they need, or maybe he'll pass it off to his children. Either way, that situation, it ends nicely. Won't you agree? He's able to pass on the things that he has learned because someone who was older than him was willing to teach him. And I think it speaks to really mentorship. We should be more interested in that. If it is that we want the younger generation to do better than we did, we need to mentor them. We need to make our wisdom accessible to them. We need to be available to help them. I think that's one way we can make change. But then at the same time, the younger ones have to display the attitude that this young man did. Like I mentioned, even though he was a husband, he was head of his household, he was paying the cost to be the boss, he still had enough humility to ask for help when he needed it. And that's something that is admirable. And that's something that will, at times, make a bad situation better. Because when you ask for help, when you put that notion out there, then that means that you're willing to take the advice that's given and you're willing to use it. And then hopefully that advice, depending on who you got it from, can bring some benefit to you and your household. So it was a positive example of what can be done through cooperation. He cooperated in asking, and I cooperated in telling. And it worked out well. Like I mentioned, when we were done, his wife was ecstatic. She was ecstatic. And I know that as a husband, that made him feel good. It made him feel good. And I think that that particular scenario will help him to appreciate that he needs to surround himself with older individuals that are willing to help. They're out there now. You may have to look for these individuals, but they're there. Okay? So, be teachable, man. Be teachable. I didn't say gullible, I said be teachable. If it's someone that you know that has a skill and you need help, be teachable. Be willing to learn, because any skills that you acquire that can help you in your life, I guarantee you later on in life, you'll be able to teach that skill to someone else and it'll benefit them too. All right. So that's the thought for this morning. Be teachable. Now, one of the things that I noticed, man, this weekend, more than anything, after we had the live stream about Mr. Black and all of the things that have been going on with him, the whole weekend it stayed on my mind. I'll be honest with you. The whole weekend it was something that just wouldn't go away. There is a real problem in our community with acknowledging that we need help, especially when it comes to mental issues. There's a real problem. And I wanted to take this time to say that for all of us as individuals, there are instances where our mental health is put in jeopardy. Now, for some, this is a situation that persists. It's there all the time because they have a chemical imbalance. But for some of us, we are just one day away from something very traumatic. One day away. Because with Mr. Black, that's exactly what happened. There had been some difficulties. He had been fighting for 3.5 years for custody, for visitation rights, and so many things came into play. We never justified whether or not this man was right or wrong, because in short, he is a murderer. But the point is what brought him to that particular point. And I think that that's worth talking about. Mental health is something in our community that we don't take seriously enough. And it's always, like I said, I've said this from the beginning of this podcast, and I'm going to continue to say it. If you are an adult, it is your responsibility, not your mother's, not your friends, not your wife or your husband. It is your personal responsibility to make sure that you are in good health, physical health, mental health, and otherwise. That's your responsibility. No matter what traumas you had to go through, as an adult, you can take the steps that are necessary to deal with the traumas that you have and to live the best life that you possibly can. That's the goal. That's the goal. So, I hope that the message was well received, man. And I hope, as always, that your week is good, that everything works out. And I hope that you enjoy yourself during the week. But as always, you know what we say. Take the time to do something positive. Just something small. If you're not ready to try it in the major leagues, just try something small, something positive, and watch it come back to you in greater measure. We hope that everyone is well and that you continue to make progress and you reach your goals that you set. And as always, you know we love you. Peace.